And hello, welcome to our last workshop of this Madison World Music Festival, the 17th annual one, produced by Wisconsin Union Theater, part of the Wisconsin Union and the UW Madison. I'm STD Noor, I am the artistic director. This workshop is titled Afro-Cuban Rhythms, and it is by Rebulú, which is a young band based in Madison, whose members hail from Peru, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Mexico, and the United States. They have formed a musical family in which they can all explore and express their love for the music and rhythms of Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the African diaspora. Their primary focus is on the dancers who come to their shows. So since I'll be probably the only one dancing here in the hall, those of you at home, feel free to get up and move your feet. Interviewing Rebulú is Martin Alvarado, co-host of the Global Revolutions World Music Show on Madison's WORT 89.9 FM. The show is heard every Monday, 9 a.m. to noon Central Time on WORTFM.org. Martin, take it.
Hey, thanks for the very great welcome, and just an honor to be part of the Madison World Music Festival. Let's see, do I have my vocals on?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so yeah, it's been a great experience to be here so far. I've been enjoyed the other workshops, and warm welcome to Rebulú again, and I'll give the word to Francisco Martinez, who does vocals and also does some of the percussion, the drum kit, to introduce the rest of the members of the band.
Thank you, Martin. Well, I'm going to start all the way on stage right, the man with the colorful shirt. Yes, his name is Edu Ravelo, and he is the musical director and founder of this group, and he hails from Peru, and obviously plays piano, and he is one of the major composers. We're working on a bunch of original material, none of which, unfortunately, we will be playing tonight, but a lot of this material has been written by Edu, and so, yeah, that's Edu Ravelo. And then center stage is Yancel Rivera. She, among many of her hats and talents, she's singing with us. We're very honored to have her. She's a brilliant vocalist, and she's kind of like the road manager of the band. When we get off course, she, snaps us into place. So
From Puerto Rico.
From Puerto Rico, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, Yancel, what part of Puerto Rico are you from?
The capital.
And Edu, what city of Peru?
Lima, Peru.
Lima, Peru. Okay, so we have over here on stage right on the riser is Richard Hildner. Richard, I'll let you introduce yourself.
I play guitar. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin, and my family's from Peru. Then why don't you keep going?
Okay.
Carlos.
Yes. So then center of the riser is Carlos Ramos, also from Puerto Rico. Where are you from in Puerto Rico?
I'm from Ponce, Puerto Rico.
Ponce, okay, Ponceño. And he plays bass guitar and sings. He's got a lovely baritone voice. Next to him is Willy Gracia, also from Puerto Rico. ¿De dónde viene? From Naranjito, Puerto Rico. And Willie is a brilliant multi-percussionist. In this band, he plays primarily congas, but he's also, is great on bongos, timbal, and everything else. And then we have the back line. Can you guys stand up for us? Okay. Stage right, that tall, dapper gentleman is Flaviano Estrella from Mexico. ¿Cuál ciudad? Oh, he's from a little town called Los Angeles. Yes, that's right, which used to be part of Mexico a long time ago. And it's still, in spirit, part of Mexico. Center stage, and he plays trombone. This is our horn section, all trombones. yeah, we wanted something kind of meaty for this. In the center is Darren Sterud. Darren, are you from the U.S.?
I'm from Manila, Philippines.
Oh, well, dang, I didn't include the Philippines in our... Okay, my bad. So yeah, Darren is from Manila. Yo me voy a Manila a bailar con las Filipinas. And then, last but certainly not least, the youngest and most handsome member of our group. We told him to keep his mask on so the ladies wouldn't
And
get too
single.
crazy. Yeah, that's Stephen Beta, and he's actually a graduate student here at the UW. And yeah, so that's our Valiant Horn section. So that's the group Rebulú.
So yeah, just to go a little bit to the origin of Rebulú, where does this whole concept come from? I know I've seen a lot of you play in different bands, so who came up with the idea of doing Afro-Cuban music and just playing it at this level of just great musicianship? How did that come along?
Well, you know, we have all played in a lot of different bands, and some of us do play, and all of it is based on, you know, Afro-Latino music. But Edu is Richie's cousin. So when Edu came into town, Edu played in Peru with a very famous timba band in Peru. And timba is sort of like what you would consider contemporary Cuban salsa. It's like the most contemporary style in Cuba at this point. And it's very big in Peru. I think there are a lot of Cuban expatriates, and there's always been a good flow of timba between Cuba and Peru. So Edu played with a group there for many years, and when he came here to Madison, he told Richie, I want to start a timba group. And then Richie said, you got to talk to Frank Martinez. So, yeah, so Edu reached out to me, and it took a little while, but we finally got it all together, and yeah, and some of us have played in different groups that sort of maybe emphasized more like a Latin jazz or an Afro-Cuban jazz flavor. But with this group, we really wanted to focus on, like as Esti said, the dancers. We wanted to be primarily a band that dancers would come and really enjoy, and so that's what we try to do. We try to serve and honor the song instead of you know, going nuts and having everybody has a solo on every song, that kind of thing. So yeah, so that's where the concept came from. So yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think one of the things is a lot of times we know of some of the more popular genres, like salsa has been one of those things that's a fixture in almost any small cities, large town in the United States. But then we have like some of the other rhythms that have been around in our families throughout generations. And so what other rhythms? You have timba, what other things does Rebulú play? Do I hear some danzón every once in a while, or what do you all have?
We have one song that has a danzón section in it, and then we also have a song that we're going to be playing tonight called Mi Tierra that starts with bomba, which is actually a Puerto Rican and Afro Puerto Rican groove, and then it, you know, moves into salsa, and everybody here has you know. In the Peruvian members of the band are very steeped in the Afro-Peruvian traditions, and in fact, these guys are they're relatives of Cotito Medrano, who's a famous percussionist in Peru, and and then we have these guys who have been playing in the Puerto Rican salsa scene. You know, they cut their teeth there. And so, yeah, we bring, and then of course, like, speaking for myself, you know, I've played in everything from funk to punk and everything in between. So I have a good foundation in a lot of the American music, which some of the other cats here in this band do also. And so, and that helps us with the timba, because timba definitely has a lot of influence from, you know, hip hop, funk, and in other American styles, jazz, and Richie especially too has been very active in the jazz scene, as well as some of our horn players. So that all sort of it all sort of informs the way we approach our music, and it helps us to sort of give it our own stamp, you know. So.
Yeah, so it's interesting. There is this undercurrent of universality of Cuban music throughout the Americas, and I think that was very well portrayed, how you have people from different areas of Latin America, from the Caribbean, also from the Pacific coast with Peru. And yeah, so that's just speaks to this culture where all of us just feel immediately that we have something in common with this music. And so we have like a couple audiences, the audiences that this really resonates because this is something that they grew up with, and then the audiences who are just discovering this music. So how has your reception been here in Madison, both with new and with people who are just experiencing this music for the first time?
I have to say Madison has really given us a great reception. As soon as, you know, I do want to give a shout out to Hannah John Taylor, who runs Cafe Coda on Willie Street. And he was the person who led us, who gave us our first venue to you know, present what we had. And he did it without even hearing anything. He just said, oh yeah, like you guys got Richie and you got this person. Just because of the people in the band, he's like, bring it on. And so we did, and that was the beginning. And you know, we caught on pretty quickly, and yeah, we're really happy. We're very humbled by the reception that we've received in Madison, and we try to, you know, live up to our responsibility to our audience to always give them a good show and you know, make them want to get up and dance.
Okay, so I think we have had a very nice conversation, and we'll come back to talk more with Rebulú, but it seems like you mentioned the thing about getting ready to dance, so this seems like the perfect opportunity to launch into the first musical part of this workshop. So what are you going to do right now?
Sure. So, you know, one of the oldest rhythms that was developed by the African slaves that came to Cuba in Cuba is called rumba. And, you know, in rumba, there's 3 types of rumba, but the most popular style is called guaguancó. And it's become, you know, very much a part of salsa and a part of other things. So we're going to just do a little number, just a piece of something, so you guys can hear. So in guaguancó, the clave, as in all Cuban music, the clave is of utmost importance. The clave is an instrument, and it is also a rhythm. And the rhythm of clave is what everything kind of molds itself around. Also, the congas do a very specific pattern for guaguancó, and then the vocals are usually a call and response. With guaguancó, it's a dance. I mean, every Cuban music, every Cuban style is made for dancing. So unfortunately, we don't have any dancers on stage with us, but with guaguancó, it's a couples dance, typically or traditionally between a man and a woman, and it's a courtship, and the man portrays a rooster, and the woman is the hen, and so the man is trying to court the woman, and the woman is sort of teasing him, but also, you know, kind of not making it easy for him, and so that is basically what happens with the dance, and that's what goes along with the music. So this is a little piece of a tune by a great band called Muñequitos de Matanzas from Matanzas, Cuba. And this is a piece called Congo Yambumba.
Yo me enteré que tú andas diciendo que tú eres un palo, mi amigo Julián. Yo me enteré que tú andas diciendo que tú eres un palo, mi amigo Julián. Tú debes decir, si no fuera por papá, tú debes decir, si no fuera por papá. Y ahora veo que todo lo tuyo es un vano orgullo, mi amigo Julián. Y ahora veo que todo lo tuyo es un vano orgullo, mi amigo Julián. Tú debes decir, si no fuera por papá, tú debes decir, si no fuera por papá. Yo soy el yo soy el terror. Yo soy el terror. Yo soy el terror. Si no fuera por papá, yo soy el terror. Congo yambumba, soy negro, negro carabalí. Negro de la sierra, negro de África. Si no fuera por papá, si no fuera por papá.
Okay. So that was a little snippet. And if you want to hear the full song, you should definitely look it up. Muñequitos de Matanzas, Congo Yambumba. And they actually do it in a slower version of rumba, which is called Yambu. But we just sped it up a little bit and did it Huabanco style.
And that was, yeah, just a very nice taste of some of the intricacies of Afro-Cuban music. So you have obviously the vocal harmonies, but then there's just so much happening in the rhythmic section. As the audience could see, we had 4 percussionists, each of them doing something different, but then melding into this polyrhythmic thing. So how does this whole part in US music, we might have just the bass and the drums and sort of the popular and rock music. Where does all this like rhythmic sort of like structure, architecture, where does it come from, and just what makes it happen?
The foundations of rumba and a lot of other Cuban music, and there's all over Latin America. There's some traditions that are somewhat codified in this way, others which are not, and this concept is the concept of clave. There is music throughout Latin America, whether they say it has clave explicitly or implicitly, it's inside of every rhythm, but the Cubans traditionally have always made it very explicit. So in the case of rumba, the song we just played is the 3-2 clave, which has 3 beats. They're not even beats. The beginning, the first 3 beats are the 3 side of the clave, and the last 2 beats are the 2 side of the clave. And for the rumba, the huahuancó clave,
So on top of that, they normally put a groove by the palitos, the little sticks, and it goes. And then on top of that goes the conga. Okay, so as you can tell, we didn't invent any of this. So, and that's why it works so well.
But I think one of the reasons you see, I think primarily why the clave becomes so important in the Cuban music is because traditionally all you really needed to make a rumba was someone playing the clave, and usually the singers play the clave, accompanying themselves, and then the voices and the vocal harmonies, and that's all you need to make a rumba. So and everything else on top of that is to lock in and bring it up even more.
Right, and then with the singing, there's a traditional call and response form, which comes from Africa. So that's what you hear, and pretty much that call and response happens in almost every style of Cuban music, you know.
Yeah, so that was yeah, very instructive and just very interesting to see how it builds upon the very fundamental, like the heartbeat that is the clave. It's not a heartbeat that's going dun dun dun. It's going with slight rhythm variations, and then that just sort of like sets the stage for other elements to come in. And then we have in these styles, then we have the brass, we have keyboard. So it's just become, as you said, something that builds upon this very basic thing, this expression of joy for people who had very limited means under slavery. That was a very community-based thing, and it subsisted, and it just becomes then sort of like a codified art form, right? That people can enjoy, but still retaining those roots. So yeah, wanted to talk a little bit about, so we have the Cuban experience. So what are sort of the roots? The Puerto Rican roots are similar, but a little bit different. So how does that express itself in the music of Rebulú?
Well, like I said, you know, we do a song that has bomba, and also, you know, in Puerto Rico, there's a rich, you know, folkloric movement in Puerto Rico too. That especially with bomba y plena, there are some groups that play it, you know, the way it was played with conch shells and all that stuff, and it's brilliant. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, when you have music that is rooted in African polyrhythms, and especially when you have islands that are so close together, and you know there was a lot of cross-pollination. So it's almost like when you hear something, or when you hear a certain type of music, it's like meeting a long-lost cousin that you like, oh, hey, I recognize you, you know? So I think that, you know, in Puerto Rico, like, they immediately, you know, loved the music of Cuba and the music of Dominican Republic and vice versa. And I think a lot of times because of the embargo with Cuba, the Puerto Rican people were almost like the emissaries. They became the emissaries of that, you know, music of the Greater Antilles. They brought that to New York City and developed salsa, and, you know, added all of those elements to it. So, you know, and now, you know, with the world that we have now, it's a lot easier to hear music from, you know, Cuba and other places like that. But, you know, especially during the 70s and the 60s, you know, a lot of what was going on that in the United States was based out of New York City. And Puerto Ricans basically they were the movers, you know, in that scene.
Oye, Willy, ¿quiere tocar un pequeño ejemplo de bomba, por favor, para el público?
Yeah, so that's a little bit of bomba, and that's a specifically Puerto Rican rhythm, you know, Afro-Puerto Rican rhythm, you know.
Yeah, that one again. When we think of rumba, the foundations of rumba being, we talked about the clave. Like when you see with the bomba, the foundation of that is the conversation between the lead drum and the dancer, and their conversation and their goal to synchronize with each other is what bomba is all about.
Mm-hmm. And then we also had the appearance of one of my favorite instruments, the güiro, that Edu brought out for this part. So that's, yeah, one of those things that it's, yeah, one of those elements. It's one of those instruments that you can dance with very easily. Like a lot of people dance with that. And part of that example is, yeah, having the call and response between the dancers, the real conversation. So how has it been during this era of COVID? How does Rebulú try to engage with its audience, and how does it manage right now?
Well, this has been, obviously, it's for any band that is primarily a live band, it's been a little bit tough, but, you know, we've used this time to really focus on, you know, like I said, writing some of our own material, because our goal was always to be primarily an original band, doing original music like in the Afro-Cuban genre, but basically like our own stamp on it. And so we've been kind of busy trying to get that off the ground. And we have, is this our first virtual concert that we've done? Second. Yeah, so I feel like if this keeps going on, we'll probably be doing more and more virtual shows. And that's a great way of, staying in communication with our audience. But, no matter how long this takes, we have a lot of faith in the Madison audience. And I think that once this COVID thing is over, everyone's going to be delirious and out in the street looking for something fun to do. And so we're pretty sure that once we get back on stage after COVID, everyone will be out there ready to dance their butt off.
I think one of the nice things that we are trying to do, especially, this is a good example, right? This is the second live show that we do, is that a lot of people are doing a lot of recordings, like virtual recordings is the new thing for COVID. And we are trying also to do some virtual recordings, but it's so much better when you perform with your group live so people can watch it, in real time. There's a connection there. There's no live audience, but there's immediately a connection that you don't get when you are just listening to virtual recordings.
We feel their presence.
Yeah, we feel it.
Certainly, and this, I think, like just the dedication of a lot of musicians has really been a lifeline for myself and others who don't have the privilege and the joy of experiencing live music. So I think we all end up just dancing in wherever we are, in our living rooms, in our rooms, and just we're very grateful to having musicians who are just putting just this high level of craft and musicianship out there. So I think we're coming up on another time for introducing another song or showcasing another rhythm. What should we go to next?
Yeah, this next piece, it's an example of son, Cuban son, which is spelled like sun in English. And Cuban son was developed in the eastern part of Cuba, in Santiago and Guantánamo, which together is known as El Oriente in Cuba. And it was developed from, by farmers of Spanish descent. And some people think that it may have developed from another style called changui, which is also a style that merges African rhythms with Spanish guitar. So originally song was played with guitar and bongos, and it was like basically the African rhythm and the claves and the guitar. And that was like a rural style called son montuno. And then when son came to Havana and got urbanized, then what happened was the piano took over, where the Cuban tres would be doing a lot of what's called the guajeo, which is like the rhythmic patterns. And so the piano players took over that role, and what they called their rhythmic patterns is called montunos, but basically it's like an emulation of the guajeo that the tres does in traditional Cuban son. And then, once they got to Havana, besides adding the piano, they added congas, they added horns, and it became, what a lot of people know as son now. And it also is the basis, one of the foundations for salsa in New York too. So we're gonna do a song that's very popular. It was made popular by the Buena Vista Social Club, and it's called El Cuarto de Tula. We're just gonna do a little piece of it so you guys can hear song. Oh. Our musical director says we're doing the whole thing. Okay, ¿listos?
el barrio La Cachimba se ha formado la corredera. En el barrio La Cachimba se ha formado la corredera. Allá fueron los bomberos con sus campanas y sus sirenas. Allá fueron los bomberos con sus campanas y sus sirenas. Ay, mamá, ¿qué pasó? Ay, mamá, ¿qué pasó? En el barrio La Cachimba se ha formado la corredera. En el barrio La Cachimba se ha formado la corredera. Allá fueron los bomberos con sus campanas y sus sirenas. Allá fueron los bomberos con sus campanas y sus sirenas. Ay, mamá, ¿qué pasó? Ay, mamá, ¿qué pasó? El cuarto de Tula que cogió candela se quedó dormido y no apagó la vela. El cuarto de Tula que cogió candela se quedó dormida y no apagó la vela. El cuarto de Tula le cogió candela se quedó dormida y no apagó la vela. Que llamen a Carlito y Ancelita y Wiliberto. La cama de Tula está caliente como un horno medio abierto. El cuarto de Tula le cogió candela se quedó dormida y no apagó la vela. Tula está encendida, llamen los bomberos, que el fuego no se apaga ni con clave ni con cuero. El cuarto de Tula le cogió candela se quedó dormida y no apagó la vela. Edu me decía que Tula era fría, pero al fin y al cabo la Tulita tenía piromanía. El cuarto de Tula le cogió candela se quedó dormida y no apagó la vela. manguera se quedó dormida y no apagó la vela. El cuarto de Tula se cogió candela, se quedó dormida y no apagó la vela.
And yeah, that was a great interpretation. And I love the fact that it still has that playfulness that you might expect when you hear songs performed by local bands, where you have people, the band members being drawn into the lyrics. Maybe if you were in the town, you would be talking about the people in the town and putting them into the lyrics. So that tradition of really making it a social music. It's not just a music where you are listening to it. You might even be a protagonist in the lyrics, as were several members of the band. And that's always really, really fun. And just really, first time I've heard electric guitar on that, and that worked so well with all the other arrangements. So that's just a great way of how we can take music that's been traditionally, and it has such a solid foundation that it can take on all these other elements. And it has to do also with the care when you put an electric guitar, to do it just right, to do it after you learn the thing. So that was thanks to Richie for that. So yeah, that was pretty exciting. That was really fun. Definitely kept me engaged. I was tapping my toes since I'm here sitting here on the World Music Festival. And yeah, so Rebulú, we've been looking at some of the aspects of the music. How about, why is it all trombones in the back? Where does that come from? Because the trombone is very versatile, but yeah, the trombone people, they don't get to speak out too much. So what's up with you guys?
Why not? For me, at least, you know, my first introduction to Latin music in general, but specifically Cuban music and so on, was Willie Colon. And we'll actually do a song that Willie Colon was on with Celia Cruz when we perform later. And trombone is described in a lot of musical circles as like a voice of God. It is. And I'm not trying to. It is. I'm being very honest, because there's a lot of power behind the trombones. And when I was living in Minneapolis, all the hot salsa bands had 2 or 3 trombone players, and that was it for the horns. And it's just because, and this is nothing against any other horn player, the range is very versatile on the trombone. So you don't. And as Francisco called us at rehearsal last week, we sound like a pack of elephants, I think.
Yeah, that's their name, Los Elefantes.
Yeah. Like the Music Man, what was it? Like 110 trombones in the big parade. Yeah. Just got 3.
Yeah, but you know, if you look at the history of salsa, like people like Rubén Blades with his band, you know, Son de Solar, he had, you know, only trombones, and that definitely, there's been some key groups that have done that, and it's a nice sound. It's mellow but powerful, and
I think
yeah.
One thing that jumps to me is La Murga, and how just the trombone just really grabs you, like from the first few seconds of that, and it just becomes like, that's what hits you with the piece. So the trombone, even though it's in the back, like it just has, you can feel the rhythm a lot of times, many days, like after you go to a performance, but also in your mind, you get the trombone riffs stuck because they're just so evocative. And yeah, I think they sort of like express a lot of the melancholy and a lot of some of the more complex emotions sometimes, I feel. But yeah, so it's just been a joy to hear 3 trombonists, and so we're almost coming up at the end of this workshop, and just want to make sure that we get all the music in, as well as giving an opportunity for people to know how to follow Rebulú and how to know what you're up to next. So what's the best way to stay in touch with you all?
Well, you can like us on Facebook and follow us. Our group, or our Facebook page, is Rebulú Group, and Instagram also. And we, a lot of times, write Rebulú with an accent on the last U, because that's how you should write it. But on Facebook, it's no accent, and then you add group to it, because there's maybe another band just called Rebulú, so we had to say Rebulú group. So yeah, Instagram and Facebook, and at this point, I don't think we have anything that we could say is right on the horizon. I mean, our calendar was awesome before this COVID thing happened. We were gonna play the Central Park sessions. We were going to do some of the other festivals, you know, in this summer, and things were really shaping up nicely, and you know, things out of our control. But you know, one great thing about this band that I always say when I get to talk, and I will say it again, is that this is not just a band, we're a family. And when we're together, it's, you know, part like family reunion and part rehearsal. So sometimes it gets Yancel really irritated because we'll just go like in all these different directions, talking and joking, and she's just like, let's get going, guys, you know. But yeah, so we've been really fortunate. Like, this is just such a lovely musical band and a musical family. Everybody respects each other. Everybody has input. It's purely democratic, and it's just amazing. And I've been in many, many bands in my long time playing music, but this is, I have to say, this is probably the best, most love. There's the most love in this band than in any other band I've been in. So thank you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Gracias.
We'll feel the same.
So this last piece is gonna be a bit of timba, which is, like I said before, it's basically Cuba's modern salsa music, and it incorporates elements of, besides song and all the other Cuban styles, it incorporates elements of jazz, funk, R&B, hip-hop, and even on occasion reggaeton. They'll throw in some reggaeton in there. So it's basically what they call masacote. It's all of the Cuban, it's the fruition of all of those centuries of Cuban music. So this is a little timba piece we're gonna do.
Just, you know, to connect it to what we were talking earlier, how we were talking about, especially we're talking about Afro-Cuban music, the concept of clave is very strong in song, salsa, and timba. And the last one, the rumba, is a 3-2 clave. This one is a 2-3 clave. So it's going to start on the 2 side. So it doesn't hit right away. It waits a little bit. So it's going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yo te tengo aquí.
Bravo. Thanks to Rebulú for this great conversation and great music and great just learning that we had right now. And you guys are going to be busy this evening in just a few more moments. I think your performance starts fairly soon, right?
Yeah, we're going to play from 7 to 7:45. And yeah, I want to thank you, Martin, and I want to thank Esti. And, you know, we're really honored to be doing the World Music Festival. It's my favorite festival of the year. And we're really amazed that we're doing this. So thank you, Esti.
And thank you, Rebulú and Martin. It's great to have you guys here. As we just heard, Rebulú will be back for a 45-minute concert at 7 p.m., followed by Farah Siraj, 7:45, and La Musique at 8:30. So come back. We'll see you at 7. Bye-bye.